Listen, man, the bottom line is that if you whiff on your first round pick, especially if it's a running back, dude, you're probably not going to be able to win your fantasy football league. So that's why we need to be very strategic. We need to have these guys ranked. We need to have tiers so that you know that if all dudes in a particular tier are gone, that you can pivot to wide receiver, right? So in this video, we're going to be doing the top 12. Top 12 running backs, my rankings. I'm fucking stoked, dude. I'm excited. Fantasy football season is officially here, man. The calendar switches over to July, man. It's fucking go time, dude. It's fantasy season. So we're going to be doing, in this video, the top 12. We're then going to be doing the next 12, so 12 to 24, then 24 to 36. We're going to be doing like middle round dumpster diving, fucking dead zone RBs. We're going to be doing all types of videos this year, man. So stay tuned. Hit me up with a like and a subscribe if you want to catch that stuff. And let's start this video, man. And we are starting at the top with our boy Bijan Robinson. So Bijan, to me, is the perfect combination of safety with high upside. He's going to have so much volume this season. He's going to be on an ascending offense with an ascending quarterback, a good wide receiver that can keep defenses honest, as well as like a guy like Darnell Mooney. I think the Atlanta Falcons are poised to just make Bijan the focal point of this offense, and they're going to stop fucking around, dude. They're going to stop fucking around and giving the ball to Tyler Algier, hopefully. I just think he represents the safer pick in the first tier of running backs, which brings us into the next guy on the list, which is Saquon Barkley. Now, I was debating with myself of whether to have Saquon or the next guy. I eventually go with Saquon because I know what everybody's saying, that anybody who has the amount of touches he had, who leads the league in touches, it's very rare, at least in the past like 10 seasons or so, it's very rare that they repeat that and that they end up being the RB1 the next season. But I think Saquon Barkley could break that. So number one, he's extremely talented, dude. Saquon Barkley is probably one of the best running backs to come out of college in the last like 10 or 15 years. And I mean that, dude. Like, I think talent, like pound for pound, I think he's better than Gurley. I think he's better than Le'Veon Bell. I think he's better than Jonathan Taylor, right? I think he's better than I'm probably missing a lot of other running backs, but you know, Christian McCaffrey might be the only other dude who's just like a pure talent and a diverse skill set is maybe on par with Saquon Barkley. So I think he's a safe pick. You also have the Philadelphia offense, right? The Philadelphia offensive line is still pretty decent. They haven't really been gutted that much. We saw that when they lost Kelsey a year ago, their O-line was still like number one in the league. So I think Saquon's safe. They might take a little bit of volume off of his plate, but it's still going to be very high value touches that he ends up getting. So I have him as number two. And as I mentioned, I really debated him and the next dude, which is Jahmyr Gibbs. So at the 1-3 or the RB3, Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, the only thing holding him back is obviously David Montgomery. We saw the upside when David Montgomery went down last season, and it was like perfect timing for Jahmyr Gibbs owners, right? It was like right as the playoffs started, the fantasy playoffs. David Montgomery goes down. It looked like a season-ending injury, but Jahmyr Gibbs steps in, dude, and he's averaging 30 fantasy points a game. The dude is just absolutely fantastic. I played against this motherfucker in my fantasy championship, dude. Thank God he only got 24 or 25 fantasy points, which looked like light work to him, right? Like he looked like he was cooking, and the team just kept taking him off the field for some reason. They're putting in Craig Reynolds, you know, to spell him, which it makes sense. They're fighting for the playoffs, but Jahmyr Gibbs is absolutely him, dude. He gets the receiving work. He gets the high value touches in the red zone. He has a guy like David Montgomery who can take some of the more like bruising between the tackles type runs, which I think could be a net positive for Gibbs. But I just think this coaching staff, dude, if they know it's good for them, they're going to realize that Jahmyr Gibbs, just when he has the ball, good things happen for us. We always get positive plays. I do think that there's going to be a slightly bigger disparity between Montgomery and Gibbs this season. I think it's going to be like Gibbs as the clear one with Montgomery as like, you know, a B plus. He's going to be up there, still getting touches, still going to have high touchdown upside. But Gibbs in this offense, man, I just think it's difficult to take anyone over him with how diverse his skill set is. Which brings us to the next guy, and it's Christian McCaffrey. And the reason I put him in tier 2, now he's got a very similar profile to like Saquon and Gibbs, right? He can catch the ball. He gets high value, you know, end zone touches, red zone touches. He gets touchdowns. He gets a high amount of volume. He averages like 25 fantasy points when he plays a majority of snaps for the Niners. The issue is that he's coming off of double Achilles tendonitis last season. They say he's fully healthy, but we just don't know, dude. That's one of those things that can always get inflamed. It's a chronic issue. He can always get inflammation, which can then lead to other injuries, right? Now, here's why I have him as the 4th ranked running back. The 49ers have the number 1 easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. Now, they're only projected to be like 9-8, but having the single best strength of schedule, that gives them a chance to beat that projection, right? It gives them a chance to dominate that projection. They could end up being like a 12-win team because of that. And, you know, they still have enough offensive pieces. They still got Purdy. They still have fucking Ayuk if he's healthy, if he can play. He's still a very good wide receiver. Juwan Jennings stepping up into like an alpha role. They still have Kittle, who is not only one of the best receiving tight ends, he's also one of the best run blockers, right? So Christian McCaffrey, dude, on a team like the Niners, let's not make this fucking difficult, dude. If he plays the full season, he should pretty much end as like the RB2 or RB1. It's just the risk, right? That's why I have him in tier 2, where he's got that crazy upside and that crazy, like, you know, potential, but with the risk or the injury risk, like, it's just, I'm a little bit worried. That's why I have him at the 4th in tier 2, which brings us to the next guy. Also pretty similar profile. You guys will notice a trend, man. A lot of the top running backs have a heavy receiving profile, and that's why it's Devon Achane. This one's a little bit contentious, I imagine. I know most people have him at like RB7 or so. It's just, he's going to be on a good offense who realizes that the Dolphins are at their best when they throw the ball. They throw the ball quick. They get the ball out of Tua Tagovailoa's hands. They said again this offseason that they're worried about Tua's durability and they want to get the ball out of his hands quickly, which means wheels up for Achane and Jonnu Smith yet again in 2025. So with that said, Devon Achane being the biggest beneficiary, that when he was on the field with Tua, the man was averaging like 20 fantasy points a game, more if you're in a PPR league. So with Tua, he was like a top 3 running back, you know, no doubt, right? And if their goal is to keep Tua healthy, and I do think they could keep him healthy, I do think, you know, let the man wear a fucking guardian helmet, dude. Just keep Tua healthy. This offense should turn a corner, dude. They realize that teams are just taking away the deep pass from them. So they take what the defense gives them, and Devon Achane just accrues so many goddamn receptions, dude. It's absolutely insane. When you play against Devon Achane in fantasy last season when Tua was playing, you just know you're cooked, man. You know he's due for like 20 fantasy points. You know you're in for a long day or a long morning. So Devon Achane, I have him at the 5 spot, man. I just think so much receiving floor for this man with a lot of touchdown upsides, considering there's not really anyone behind him anymore. Now, a lot of people are excited about Jalen Wright, and I am too. I do think he can take over that Raheem Mostert role. But, you know, Jalen Wright, he's still pretty young. He's kind of unproven. I can imagine Achane just being the workhorse for this offense. Which brings us to the next guy. I disrespected this man too many times. Like 3 seasons in a row, I've been fading this man. I'm done, dude. He put me in a phone booth. He put me in a goddamn locker. Stuffed me in a locker, dude. Stole my lunch money. It's Derrick Henry. He is absolutely him. He's the king, dude. He's so fucking good, and he's on one of the best teams with a super good offense. Amazing offense. They're projected to score like the 2nd most points in the NFL. Derrick Henry, dude, let's not overcomplicate it. You can have this guy higher if you want. I just don't like the fact that he doesn't really catch the ball. So he really has to hit the touchdown numbers, right? He has to hit the yardage numbers. And if they decide to keep him healthy, if they're really looking toward the playoffs, I can imagine them getting other dudes involved. It would be at their benefit, right? If they did do that. And they still have Keaton Mitchell. They still have Justice Hill, who are both like speedy, very capable running backs. So he's got the upside. He should have the volume. Just slight concerns, right? He's also getting up there in age. He's like 31, I believe. So that's why I have him at the 1-6, and he is in tier 2 still. Tier 2 is a pretty big tier. I think the rest of the dudes are pretty much in tier 2. But for the sake of this video, I will move some around and just kind of tell you guys who I like more in this tier, right? So the next dude is Ashton Genty. Very easy thesis. He's going to get crazy volume, but he's going to be on a bad team, and he's hyper talented. So it's like, out of the 3 things you want, he hits on 2, right? So a bad team doesn't mean that a running back still can't produce. Think about Breece Hall a few years ago. He's like the RB2, even though he was on a garbage team, dude. So talent and opportunity can usually win out, even in negative game scripts, especially if the dude can catch the ball, which I believe Ashton Genty can, right? He can be a workhorse running back. So the only concern is that he's on a bad team and that we haven't seen him play it down yet, right? That's it. I know you could have him way higher. You can have him at RB4. I understand. It's just, I'd rather take the dudes who are a little more proven on better offenses. Just when you're on a better offense, you're in positions to score touchdowns much more often. That's really what the thesis is for me. We won't linger too much on that, which brings me to Jonathan Taylor. This one's probably going to get you guys a little bit upset. But Jonathan Taylor, dude, just pound for pound, one of the best pure rushing running backs. him and Nick Chubb were on par as like the best between the tackles, breakaway speed running backs in the NFL. I'm sorry, dude. Better than Saquon Barkley, better than Bijan, better than McCaffrey. These dudes were like the home run hitters, right? And Jonathan Taylor, dude, with coming into the NFL, he had like a 4.39 40 speed, right? Or a 4.4 flat 40 speed. The dude had the breakaway runs, and we saw it in his first, second, and third year. Now, again, similar to Genty, he's on a bad team, right? I think Genty and Taylor have very similar profiles in 2025. They're both hyper talented, hyper fast, but on bad teams, and they're going to get a lot of volume each. So if this Colts offense can show us that they're competent, whether it's Jones or Richardson or even fucking Riley Leonard eventually, then Jonathan Taylor, dude, it is wheels up for him. He's just going to get so much volume. He's going to get touchdowns. If it's Richardson and he's healthy enough, that helps a guy like Taylor where they want to rely on the run. They're not going to be, like leaning on the passing game because Richardson that's not his forte, right? Like, even if he improves, I still imagine Taylor being kind of the focal point of the offense. So that's why I have him here at the end of tier 2. We'll now move to tier 3. And the next person on this list is Bucky Irving. Now, I tried to move Irving down, to be honest. There's just something about Irving that I'm not like in love with. I'm not in love with the fact that he didn't have the draft capital coming in. Rachaad White was still fairly productive, dude. They really trusted White as a receiving running back. But Bucky Irving, dude, every advanced stat, dude, the guy's an absolute beast. Yards after contact, yards before contact, the shiftiness, dude, the ability to like create after getting hit. He's just so good, dude. He's not very fast. He doesn't have the breakaway touchdown potential, really. But he's just such a good, solid running back on a very good offense, dude. A very good Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense with a lot of weapons, right? The reason I don't have him higher is that there are a lot of weapons, dude. Mike Evans is still there. He's going to potentially be going for a crazy record of like most seasons with 1K yards. He might be really trying to go for that, man. Chris Godwin coming back. Jalen McMillan showing a lot of potential at the end of last season. And then they add Emeka Egbuka, bro. And then you still got a couple of auxiliary pieces in those tight ends that are, pretty okay, right? Kate Otten was fine as a tight end. He can still command a couple targets. So Bucky Irving's going to be, I think he's going to be a focal point. He's going to be a dude that they really lean on. But, with Rachaad White taking stuff, a lot of receiving work, and Mike Evans and Godwin, all those names I just mentioned, I just can't put him higher than that. I wouldn't take him over Taylor, where there's just way less competition for a guy like Taylor or Genty, Derrick Henry, right? So that's why I have Bucky Irving in tier 3. And that brings us to the next player on this list, and it is Josh Jacobs. So I was kind of fighting with myself of where to put Josh Jacobs. I was thinking about putting him above Bucky. I was thinking about putting him above Ashton Genty even, dude. I was thinking in tier 2. Like, I don't see the downside to Josh Jacobs, to be honest. He's on an offense. Well, he's the engine of a high-powered offense with a young quarterback, with a great offensive coordinator, a great head coach. They score a lot of points. They have they throw the ball deep. They do a lot of play action. They fucking feed Josh Jacobs in the red zone. I just don't know what it is, man. Like, I don't know why. I think I don't know if he's gonna be able to repeat what he did last season. He had like 16 touchdowns last season. I don't know if he's gonna be able to repeat that. 15 or 16. I can't remember exactly. I don't have it here written, but yeah, man, he's RB8 in fantasy points per game in 2024 with a ton of touchdowns. So he's gonna have to repeat the touchdown department. He's gonna have to get more receptions to beat RB8. And that's why I have him here at, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have an RB10 because I do think he's going to get supplanted by Genty. He's going to get supplanted by Bucky. I see him finishing the season as like RB10 in points per game, to be honest. Like, I just can't see him outscoring these other guys, even with everything I said about how good the offense is. It's just, you now have another weapon, right? You have a high drafted Matthew Golden, who, what if he becomes the focal point? What if he becomes like a, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type dude who commands a lot of targets, and they start using him more around the red zone? That could take away from Josh Jacobs. Now, you can probably say that for all the other guys that I ranked above him, right? Like, oh, what if Amon-Ra St. Brown takes more touch? Like, I understand that, but I don't know what it is. I just can't put him above Bucky, who's like the current hotness, while Josh Jacobs kind of feels like the old hotness. I could be wrong on this one, bro. I could be, whiffing hard, but that leads us to the next guy, who also could be a whiff. Could be that I have him too high. Could be I don't have him high enough, but it's Chase Brown. Chase Brown, dude, he's kind of in a perfect situation. He's being drafted pretty late for reasons unknown, man. So he was RB4 in fantasy points per game from weeks 9 to 17 when he became like the full time starter. He had 23 touches a game, 116 yards a game. He was getting touchdowns. He was getting hella receptions. So 79% of snaps. He was a workhorse, dude. Chase Brown to me was like Kyron Williams 2 seasons ago. Just, he's not like highly drafted. He's not a high draft pick. He's not a big household name, but the dude is just getting every touch. He was catching the ball. He's getting tons of touchdowns. He was on a high powered offense. He was kind of like Kyron Williams 2.0, right? And I just think you're going into another season where they don't really do much behind him. They do add Taj Brooks, but late in the draft. And they did say they want to take away some work from Chase Brown and get some of that high volume down a little bit just to keep him healthy. But, he proved to us that he could be like a workhorse back. He was fairly explosive, fairly dynamic. So being on a team like the Bengals, man, I just can't rank him any lower, right? Like he might move further up my rankings as the season progresses. Like we might enter a situation where this guy could be in tier 2 above an Ashton Genty just because of the offense that he's going to be playing. They're going to be the highest scoring offense according to a lot of projections, right? Not just Mike Clay, but Vegas has them as like one of the highest scoring teams, right? Like I think it's the Bills and then the Bengals, or maybe the Bengals and the Bills and the Ravens. So it's difficult to put Chase Brown any lower. And the next guy and the last guy on this list, we might do an honorary mention, but it's Kyron Williams. Now I was debating between him and Hall, but it's Kyron. I just think a lot of what I said about Chase Brown, I applied to Kyron Williams. He's so inefficient. He's been on a decline uh, in terms of statistical efficiency the past, 3 seasons. But for some reason, Sean McVay just loves this guy, dude. He probably has pictures of Kyron Williams up in his fucking office, dude, and probably in his bedroom too, right next to the lotion and the fucking tissues. But he gets every touch, dude. He's an absolute workhorse. Blake Corum is not really much of a threat. Uh, yeah, he's just going to get all the work. He's on, a great offense, which should be even better offense. Fucking go Rams, dude. They add Devontae Adams, who, he's going to take some touchdown equity. He's going to take some red zone looks, but this team loves to punch the ball in when they're in like within the 5 or within the 10-yard line. They love punching it in through the run game. I've watched the Rams very closely the past couple seasons. Ever since McVay's been there, their number one prio is to see if they can punch it in on the run. Then they'll try throwing it on like second or third down. So Kyron Williams is going to get all of that. And yeah, it's difficult to rank him any lower just because we know he has such high touchdown upside. Just the efficiency, man. I can't put him any higher than 12th because he is so inefficient. And if this team if Sean McVay finally, dude, gets some post nut clarity about Kyron Williams and is like, fuck, dude, why are we feeding this man so much? If he's so inefficient, we have, Blake Corum. Let's see what we got in him. Yeah, I can just imagine Kyron Williams. He can hit the ceiling. He can also hit the floor. So that's why he's a little bit of a nervous type of pick, right? Where if he's your RB1, you're like, okay, like that feels pretty nice. Like I have a dude who's got some like top 5 potential if he just remains the starter with the workload. But that there's always that potential, dude, without that draft capital and the big name. And he's also a little bit undersized, right? And he's inefficient. You can see him getting benched by the end of the season or getting injured. So I can't put him any further up. Honorary mention, I was debating between Kyron and Breece Hall. I know a lot of people don't have Breece Hall as high as I do. It's just I still think Breece Hall is very talented. Just remember how highly touted he was coming out of college. The dude had like the Jonathan Taylor type breakaway, big play potential. He could catch the ball. He can run the ball. He was extremely fast. He was a leader on this team. And then it feels like Aaron Rodgers came and ruined it. I don't know what the fuck happened, man. He just didn't look as dynamic or explosive. Rumors are he was dealing with some injuries, but I don't know. I think he's going to turn it around. I think they're going to lean on him. They did say they want to use kind of a committee this season, but I just think talent is going to win out. They're going to realize that Breece Hall gives them the best chance to win. And I imagine them leaning on him, right? I think Justin Fields opens the offense up where having a rushing quarterback like Justin Fields who can threaten the rush is usually pretty good for running backs. So that's why I was kind of debating, but he would be kind of also in the tier 3, maybe in tier 4, if you want to give him a knockdown for the potential of being stuck in a committee. But that's the fucking video, dude. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. Let me know what you guys disagree with, man. I know there's going to be some disagreement. I can already see that You know, a lot of people might think Josh Jacobs is too low, man. I've heard people say that Josh Jacobs should be way higher. I've heard people say that Derrick Henry shouldn't be this high, right? If you're an ageist and you hate old running backs, I can imagine you saying that Derrick Henry's way too high on my list. I might agree. But anyway, man, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. If you did, hit your boy up with a like. It's the best way to show support. And while you're down there, subscribe if you want to catch one of my videos. And I will catch you guys in the next video where we do 12 to 24, the next set of rankings, which might be even more vital, man. That might be even more important to fantasy drafts, especially with the tiers, man. Like I mentioned, you want to try to find tiers and pivot to wide receiver when dudes and tiers are gone. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'll see you guys next time.